my favorite films over 6 decades of Indian cinema. Awara, K. Asif's Mughal-e-Azam. An incredible story, Zanjeer, and legendary Sholay. And Black, one of the finest films of Mani Ratnam, Guru. The film Awara. I think it was a period when, soon after independence, India was emerging. The film itself spoke of the underdog, the difference between the rich and the poor. It had, surprisingly, a lot of freedom in the film, in its thought process, and the music, and just the entire ambience was so reflective of the times. That's why Awara.
घर बार नहीं संसार नहीं मुझसे किसी को प्यार नहीं मुझसे किसी को प्यार नहीं
Devdas. I picked it because of the just unbelievable performance of Dilip Saab.
कौन कमबख्त है जो बर्दाश्त करने के लिए पीता है मैं तो पीता हूं कि बस सांस ले सकूं.
It was the ultimate, I believe. Great depth, the story itself. And black and white cinema has always had a fascination of its own. Bimal Da, purely a genius in his field, always treaded the middle path, not too artistic, not too commercial, making cinema of great value, picking from literature, picking from good writing, and then of course Dilip Saab's wonderful performance.
जानती हो ना चांद पे भी रूप सिवाया है इसीलिए उसके चेहरे पर दाग है आओ तुम्हारे चेहरे पर भी ऐसा ही दाग बना दूं.
The maturity in the performances were just beginning to erupt in Indian cinema. There was just some kind of a magic that happened at that time. The film Mother India. We saw Nargis ji in a totally different form, and perhaps I, for the first time, came face to face, through cinema of course, with what our villages are all about and what rural India is all about. Just the story and the strength of the story and the struggle of this one woman against all odds to bring up her children, and then to find one drifting away, and then for her to do justice with her own hands. Very dramatic. And in many respects, the birth of the angry young man in Dutt Saab's role in Birju. There were several others before him, of course, but I doubt if any character stood out as strongly in the realm of the angry young man as it did in Birju and in Dutt Saab in Mother India. Gurudat ji's Kagaz Ke Phool. It's by far one of my most favorite films, primarily because of the structure of the story, the pathos and the tragedy of the main protagonist in the film. But very selfishly, I think it was the ethereal presence of Wahida ji who's been my favorite ever since I came into knowledge with cinema.
तुफ तेरी जात पे सात ये बोला छह से तू हंसा कैसे नौ ने कहा आठ क्या.
There was a huge amount of simplicity mixed with a lot of dignity in all the characters that she played. And every frame was like a poem. The moments in the film were so heartrending. I mean, they just clawed inside you. Great use of symbols, great use of camera technology. I can never forget, and I've never ever seen a song so beautifully portrayed as Waqt ne kiya kya hasi sitam.
क्या हंसी सितम तुम रहे न तुम हम रहे न हम.
Just a film way ahead of its time. Kishore Kumar and his absolute genius, whether he's performing, whether he's singing. K. Asif's Mughal-e-Azam.
जब प्यार किया तो डरना क्या, प्यार किया तो डरना क्या.
To put across such a vast and such a huge canvas in those times, a lot of it, despite the money power, despite the computer graphics, has not been replicated in Indian cinema so far. So you can imagine the amount of effort that went into making it at that point of time. The absolute beauty of the drama between father and son. The exquisite introduction of color cinema in just that one song. I mean, it was unbelievable. I was in Allahabad when I saw it. I was a youngster. And I still remember that we went and saw this film several times. And every time the film would turn to color, or when those millions of images used to come on the crystal glass ceiling, people would get up and applaud. I've never seen something like that happening. That somebody would get up and applaud purely because of a good shot in a film. But it was there in Mughal-e-Azam. Shami Ji's Jungli. This is a personal favorite because I'm being very biased here. There was just the exuberance of youth and a feeling of freedom, and just the way Shami Ji performed and what he wore and the clothes that he wore and the way he behaved. We used to cut pieces of blanket and stitch it up to make a jacket, just so we could, walk like him and bend like him and shout Yahoo like him. First time you were seeing this kind of an exuberance in an actor, absolutely oblivious to what else was happening. The film Padosan.
मेरी प्यारी बिंदु, मेरी भोली री बिंदु, मेरी माथेरी बिंदु.
The comedy and the situations and Kishore Kumar and his absolute genius, whether he's performing, whether he's singing.
मेरी प्रेम की नैया बीच भंवर में गुड़गुड़ गोते खाए झटपट पार लगा दे.
I had a personal interaction with it because when I came to join movies in the around 68, 69, I went to meet Dutt Saab and he was dubbing for Padosan at Mehboob Studios.
मेरे सामने वाली खिड़की में एक चांद का टुकड़ा रहता है.
Well, it was my first film, and everything we did is so fresh in your mind. When we traveled to our location, it was in a train, and it was in the third class compartment. We all stayed in a government guest house. but there was no furniture. It was in the middle of the forest. Abbas Saab couldn't afford makeup men. But during a portion of the film, I had to have a beard. And Panduri Jukar, this great makeup artist, said, I'm very busy, but I cannot come on the designated day. So can I come a week before and put this beard on? So he came a week before, put this beard on, and I lived with it for a week without taking it off.
तो क्या वो हिंदी की तरक्की के लिए कोशिश करता है, मैं उर्दू के लिए, कोई दुश्मनी है हमारी?
Abbas Saab sold his rights of the film for a pittance, for 5,000 rupees, because he needed that money for his treatment when he was unwell. And I can never forgive him for doing that, because we were all around and we were doing well enough to be able to help him out. But that is what Abbas Saab was. He never ever sought help from anyone. Great human being. It's a film that really brought me very close to my audiences. Anand was a unique film, a very unique story. For me, it was well, a gift from heaven to be able to get to work with Hrishikesh Mukherjee and then be co-starring with Rajesh Khanna, who was an absolute god at that time. And that was like my passport to stardom. But really a very poignant story.
हम सब तो रंगमंच की कठपुतलियां हैं जिनकी डोर ऊपर वाले की उंगलियों में बंधी है। कब कौन कैसे उठेगा ये कोई नहीं बता सकता है।
At that point of time, when the whole world was at his knees virtually, to have picked this subject, to work with Hrishikesh Mukherjee, who was not entirely in the realm of escapist commercial cinema, was very brave. And I thought he did a marvelous job. And it gave me a huge amount of recognition.
मैं तुम्हें इस तरह खामोश नहीं होने दूंगा। 6 महीने से तुम्हारी बकबक सुन रहा हूं मैं। बोल बोल के मेरा सर खा गए हो तुम। बोलो, बातें करो मुझसे, बातें करो मुझसे, बातें करो मुझसे।
I was shooting on other films during that time. I drove out. I had my first Fiat car that I bought with my first funds, and I used to fill petrol at a petrol station nearby here. And I went and filled up the gas, and it was very normal. I used to get out of the car, pull out the pipe, put it into the tank, fill it, pay the money, sat in the car, drove off to China Creek, came back, and I needed to fill in more petrol. But this time when I got out, there was a crowd because it was a Friday and Anand had released and about 2 shows had gone by and there was immediate recognition. I can never forget that. Another great by Hrishikesh Mukherjee, Goody.
तुम्हारी छवि से ही प्रेम था मुझे मालूम है तुम्हारी शादी हो गई है लेकिन तुम्हारी
Goody because I met Jay on the sets of this film, and that's somewhere we decided to start dating each other, and then eventually I married her. It was just a very, very normal, very sweet little film, and Jaya was just the ideal choice for it because she was fresh out of the institute and she was this bubbly girl next door. A great departure from some of the other leading ladies who were prominent at that time. Being a leading lady meant, this huge hairstyle over your head and lots of makeup and jewelry and all the nakhras and the jhatkas of the leading ladies. But here was this girl who was nowhere like that.
Autograph.
ये क्या? अनुपमा? देखी थी आपने?
3 बार.
अरे बाप रे!
The story itself was very common. We all admired film stars and we always dreamt about being in their company some point of time, and that's what Goody did. masterpiece, Pakiza. The brilliance of the written word in that film, the compositions of the music, the lyrics, the replication of an era which we had forgotten and have no memory of, the incredible presence of Meenaji, whose voice and whose eyes spoke volumes. Just the way the film was made, it's historic. I remember people coming across from Pakistan only to come and watch this film. It's something that remains with you. I don't think we have cinema like that anymore.